This is someone I have been wanting to talk about for a while. In order to find her, we have to follow that illustrious post-impressionist Paul Gauguin to the final 15 years of his life. In 1890, to the period in Gauguin's life when he decided the next artistic destination he had to conquer was Tahiti. This is Teha'amana. European presence in Tahiti in the late 1900s was predominantly French. Tahiti was made a French protectorate in 1842. A protectorate in international relations means a situation in which two states are in relationship, but one exercises decisive control. So France was very much in control of Tahiti, long before Tahiti became a French colony in 1880. So when Gauguin shows up in 1890, there was already this established way of life between the French and the Tahitians. And buckle up, because a lot of it is going to get extremely uncomfortable. Tehamana was Gauguin's first Tahitian lover. When she was 13, and he was in his 40s, Tehamana's family met Gauguin. And it was all decided and arranged that very afternoon that Tehamana would become Gauguin's Vahine. That is simply the Tahitian word for woman. But Vahine is how the French referred to their native wives. 13. Already pretty weird. I've read that that would be a normal marrying age for Tahitian culture at this time, but in the late 1800s, 13 would definitely be eyebrow-raising in France. So you have to feel like these guys were kind of getting away with something because they weren't in Europe. The Vahines were often very young. Many, like Tehamana, had just achieved puberty. Now these marriages to French men were usually non-binding and were arranged mainly for financial reasons. And Gauguin's relationship with Tehamana was clearly always meant to be temporary. Gauguin only stayed in Tahiti that first trip from 1890 until 1893, so he wasn't putting down roots. Did he ever paint, though? This is what I think of when I think of Gauguin, his vision of Tahiti. His paintings of Teha'amana are beautiful and startling. In Gauguin's painting, The Spirit of the Dead Watching, 1892, we see Teha'amana nude. Her expression is calm and passive, despite this apparent sort of magical creature behind her. As with Tehamana and her ancestors, 1893. Tehamana looks calm and at home. In these surroundings in which the French Gauguin expresses, I think, his outsiderness to his surroundings. See, Gauguin seemed to be trying to become more of a part of Tahitian culture than the other Frenchmen in Polynesia at the time. He was looking for this perfect tropical paradise. He set himself up in this bamboo hut about 45 kilometers away from where the other Europeans were living. They thought he was really weird. So in his travel accounts, Gauguin is often recounting laying in bed with Tehamana in their hut while she tells him Tahitian stories and legends and things. Gauguin had this very romanticizing the other thing going on, and it's what made him famous. This sensual idea of Tahiti was making him a big deal back in Paris. But you can't help but feeling it's unsettling. These Frenchmen living in Tahiti, doing whatever they want, sleeping with young girls, So a year into their relationship, Tehamana got pregnant. There's no record of her child. Her family only lived 15 miles away, and it was not uncommon for Tahitian children to be adopted or fostered. So it's assumed that the child was taken in by another family when Gauguin left Tahiti in 1893. I understand there was a very tearful goodbye between Tehamana and Gauguin when he left for Paris. Tehamana stayed in Matea. And I like the end of this story for Tehamana because I think it's a happy one. She married again. For real. Pretty quickly after Gauguin left. To a boy her own age, who was also Tahitian. She had 2 sons with him. When Gauguin returned to Tahiti in 1895, girl was married for real. So, bye, old man. By this time, Gauguin was covered in syphilitic sores, which were apparently super gross. He tried to bribe Tehamana to come live with him again, but it didn't matter how generous his gifts were. She was totally grossed out by the whole idea. Bye, old man. When Gauguin died in 1903, Tehamana made 0 attempts to come forward as his Vahine. She was totally indifferent to his memory. I can just wrap this up by saying, I think Gauguin already said it with his paintings. She belonged there. He didn't.